Hey guys, this is Tom at VSE, and we got an awesome announcement for the 2020 through 2020 year, all the way up to the mid-year Silverado and Sierra 1500 owners. So what is pictured here is a Sierra 1500. It's equipped with the GM LM2 Duramax diesel engine and the 10-speed transmission. This is a pre-refresh year, so meaning that it doesn't have the new updated GM interior. So tuning is going to be available for these trucks, and it's excluding the Sierra and Silverados that were after the refresh period, and it's also excluding the Yukons and the Tahoes and all those Duramax diesels that were in the SUVs. So again, if you have a truck that is the old interior, that's an LM2, and you guys are in this category. So we've been beating on this truck for quite a little while. This is ours. We bought it just for this purpose and this testing. It's on our Mustang Dyno, and we have ran it through its paces. So over the course of time, and we're in Nebraska, and our elevation here is about 1,100 feet. So all these are 1,100 feet numbers. It's about 14.2 pounds of barometric pressure. So the baseline of this truck was 244 horsepower and 394 foot-pounds of torque. And it's pretty repeatable. Again, that's in non-regeneration mode, so a non-DPF regeneration. What we saw was 28 PSI and 18 degrees of timing. This truck makes 32 pounds of mass per minute and 243 grams per second of air. So again, those are the corrected values that the ECM measures, and we're using HP tuners, which we'll get into in a second, for data logging. It seems like the LM2s pick up 7.6 or so horsepower per pound mass per minute, and at full throttle, and again that's holding it on the dyno for quite a little while, hood closed and fan on, turbo outlet temperature gets to about 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and they stay pretty steady in there, and I'll get to why that's important here just in a second. Tuned and set pretty much on max. Again, this is with the stock GM air intake installed in good condition, the DPF less than 100% loaded, and the truck not in regeneration mode. We have found that these things are good for plus 60 horsepower, give or take a few horsepower, and plus 100 foot-pounds of torque. That is 304 horsepower max and 496 foot-pounds of torque max. The limiter right at the moment, what we found, is the little turbo that's on them. We'll get to that in a second. So a little turbocharger. That's at 31 PSI with our tune and 21 degrees of max SOI timing. That is 39 pounds of mass per minute and 270 grams per second of air. So the turbo outlet temperature, which is important to note, gets to 380 degrees Fahrenheit, and it stays pretty steady there. We have a lot of experience with our L5P turbos that we've been making, so we know how to monitor air temperature, discharge temperature. The cool thing about the little LM2s, they have an air-to-water heat exchanger on them, just like the Ford Powerstrokes do. So even though turbo outlet temperature is fairly high, the incoming air load is fairly cool, so air density seems to be in pretty good shape. The power levels that we're going to offer are an optimized stock at 0 horsepower, plus 30 horsepower tune for you guys are going to tow the heck out of these trucks, and believe me, they tow really well tuned, and plus 60 horsepower max, so that would be something you wouldn't want to tow in. We keep all the factory D-rates and back downs in place, so you can hold these things to the floor. It's going to reach all the back downs, and it'll start to lower power to keep these trucks from getting too hot. We don't really want to crest anything higher than 1,350 degrees on these until we learn more about them in the future on exhaust gas temperatures. Transmission tuning, we're offering that too. These things have a T93. We just got into the T93s recently, and we've been testing the heck out of them. So transmission tuning, this is what you guys are going to get. These things start in second gear often. We're going to skip shift a lot of the gears. So the skip shifting will be enabled. The mountain mode we're going to turn into, unless the user requests us to do otherwise, we're going to turn into a drag race mode. So these things can run pretty good. I think a lot of people, when they get into these with our tuning on them, again, fully emissions compliant, they're going to realize after the truck's been floored that they have a ton of power at the top, which we'll show on our dyno graph. Mountain mode is going to allow second gear start, and the truck's going to shift second to fourth, and we're going to lock the converter right away, and then we're going to keep it locked fourth onto sixth, and then sixth into eighth. So it'll give you the best eighth mile time and the best quarter mile time. We'll reduce and eliminate the speed limiter through a lot of this tuning also. So you guys will get out in the quarter mile without hitting that. I think it's 112 mile per hour is where these things limit out at. In tow haul, we're going to increase the hold times in the 8th, 9th, and 10th gear. So these things will sit in those bigger gears, and it'll allow the turbocharger and the motor to load against the transmission before downshifting. And we'll also extend the time to get into 8th, 9th, and 10th gear, meaning that if it's in 7th, then the ECM and TCM determined based upon torque inputs, it won't pull the hill. We're going to hold it out before it shifts into 8th, so it doesn't shift up in 8th, 9th, 10th, and back down into lower gears so often. Transmission pressure, so we can modulate the transmission pressure quite a little bit in these. We're going to increase transmission pressure in the high torque and the low pump speed areas or the low RPM areas. So you'll see on the dyno graph, these things around 2000 RPM, they'll generate nearly max torque. So it's important to increase, if we're going to increase torque, we need to increase transmission pressure ever so slightly. We're not going to crank it up under a load. We don't want to build any unnecessary heat in these things because it will tear them up. So you don't need to, after a tune, we're not requiring the user to sit and constantly watch dash gauges. So we are going to test S&B intakes. That's next up on the list. So what's required to tune these guys? So on HB tuners, this is our scan tool. You're going to require a laptop or our new TDN app so you can flash via your cell phone. You're going to need an MVPI3. You're going to need the E46, and that's the ECM, which we'll get to in a second. The E46 needs to be unlocked, and you can do that through us. And you'll need 6 licensing credits for the ECM. And then as of now, you'll need 4 licensing credits for the TCM in addition to the unlock. So those are the things that are required. And then you'll need tune file purchases for both the ECM and the TCM. So HB tuners is pretty slick. Once we got the ECM and TCM unlocked, we can flash right through the OBD2 port using the MVPI3. So L5P guys, they've taken a huge advantage of this for a long time, and we're super excited to bring this into the LM2 market, you know, and just continue to raise power in these trucks and raise fuel economy. So I'll show you really quick what we found on the dyno, so people can see, you know, baseline and what we have found. So this is off of our Mustang dyno report. This is this truck behind me, and we've tested the heck out of it. So these aren't hero dyno pulls. These aren't like just one and gone dyno pulls. The baseline values are 244 horsepower and 394 uncorrected foot-pounds of torque here where we're at. So this is indicative of the average of these trucks. So as we've turned power up, and we have tons of dyno logs behind here, but as we've turned power up, we've seen 297 to 304 horsepower. This is about where we need to set these trucks with the factory emissions equipment and the factory turbo. And the turbo is going to be the limiting factor on these things to make safe power before we reach a bunch of back down. So it's going to be awesome to increase power. And again, the last run, which would have been the blue line, you can see how much further out power actually stays above the red line, which, you know, the red line was the baseline. So again, these are going to be, the users are going to feel this in the seat of the pants when they step on the gas. So ECM and TCM, to get to those guys, they're straight down here right below the airbox in these trucks. You pull the inner fender well liner out of these, and then the ECM and TCM are located right there. They're ultra easy to pop out. We'll do an ECM exchange and a TCM exchange to get the tune files and the ECM unlocked for you and the TCM unlocked. Let's see, so what's going on down the pipeline? So in addition to tuning, this is what's coming out in the market. We'll have a whole nother segment on this. This is our fuel system saver, or the fuel system saver device. This is going to replace, just like on the L5P, the factory unit with a pre-filter and post-filter for water separation, and then a post-filter only for the fine debris at a 3 micron level. So this is going to replace the factory filter head. And then we're not going to show too much about this, but this is the turbocharger that we've modified. This is going to allow all the LM2 guys to continuously increase power. So I don't want to get into the tech specs behind this thing yet. We'll do a whole nother video on this, but this is going to allow you guys to increase boost safely above that 32 PSI mark and get the grams per second of airspeed well above 300 grams per second to continue to push these. We think that the LM2 bottom end is easily able to handle plus 100 horsepower. I would be surprised if it can't. But a turbocharger is coming from RUNVSE right to you guys here in the near future. If you guys have any questions or anything further from us, you can hit us up at runvse.com or on any of our Instagram tags or social media. And you can always call us. We have a dealer program. There's a banner on our webpage. Again, this thing is going live, and we're super excited to bring it to you. Thanks. Good enough?
Yeah.
Fuck me.
You just want to stop the mic?
Oh shit, should have stopped it before Brady uses this for this. Ready? Hey guys, this is Tom at VSE, and there is a super good announcement. Oh fuck, that's wrong. Let's keep going.
Yeah, you can just keep.
Hey guys, this is Tom at VSE, and we got an awesome announcement for the 2019. Oh, it's 2020. Don't put any of those in there, Brady.
I got the bloopers.